We are back on the Early Wedge, brought to you by BetMGM, the sportsbook born in Vegas. And we want to take a very quick look at next week's FedEx St. Jude, maybe talk about a few players that we may like. It's the playoffs now, right? We've got the top 70 that are playing. So again, a 70-person field. It's the playoffs. We got let's see, TPC Southwind is a par 70, 7,200 yards. We're looking at very small greens, water in play on a ton of holes, 10 or 11 holes where water's in play. We've got ball strikers that we're looking for. Mid-iron play is certainly going to be between 100 and 200 yards, certainly going to be maybe 125 and 200. The proximities we're looking for. Scrambling around the green might come into play with these small greens. We got Bermuda greens. I do think, Jason, this is a little bit of a similar setup to Sedgefield. Maybe you just add water in terms of like the type of golfer we're looking for. What are you looking for out here, Jason?
Yeah, it makes sense. There was a correlation 2 years ago. Lucas Glover won in Greensboro and then went straight to Memphis and won there as well. I'm just looking at ball strikers. I mean, I know we do this 75, 80, 85% of the time when we're breaking down PGA Tour events, and I know it gets redundant, but I'm looking for really good iron players who hit the ball really well from the fairway, and you're that 125 to 175 range. It's who hits the best 8 irons, 9 irons, and wedges is usually going to be up there this week. And I mean, I can start looking at some names, but it's not going to be anyone that blows your socks off that you go, wow, I've never heard of that guy. It's going to be a lot of the best up on the leaderboard this coming week.
Yeah, Jason, perhaps you and I will go back and forth on just a few names that just jump out to us early on a Sunday. But, Mike, I know you have to drop off in a few minutes, so let's get your thoughts on TPC Southwind, and maybe if you have a few golfers in mind. If you don't, that's okay, too. It's Sunday. We're not even done with the Wyndham yet, but any golfers that come to mind, and what are you looking for at TPC Southwind?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely going to be the approach play. Strokes gained approach. We talk about it every week, as Jason mentioned. I think it's as critical here really as anywhere. You bring the water into play, but it's going to be a lot of the best players, as Jason mentioned. Guys that rate extremely well in approach we haven't seen in a couple weeks that I think their numbers can always be fascinating. Sepp Straka, Victor Hovland, things like that. Those are just guys that, they get kind of lost and forgotten because they're certainly not in that top elite tier of golfer, but they are when it comes to the approach play. Yeah, until we see the field, we're not going to see numbers, unfortunately, until we know exactly who's there. But look, it's going to be a lot of the same, and it's going to feel a lot more like a major in terms of the names that we're looking at.
Yeah, I mean, go ahead, Jason.
I want to make one point here, and this is less from the betting markets, more for those just, looking at it from a golf fan perspective. We've been talking about the FedEx Cup now for 20 years and what it means, the evolution of it. And this is like the proverbial, like, plug one hole in the dam and another leak bursts right through it because, we've had staggered scoring at the Tour Championship for the last 6 years. And people are like, it's really gimmicky and it's really stupid. From a betting perspective, we're like, okay, Scotty Scheffler's at 10 under before he even starts. Yeah, I kind of like Scotty Scheffler this week at minus 300 or whatever. I mean, it was just really dumb. They've fixed that. No more staggered scoring at the Tour Championship. So we say, okay, collectively, we're like, great. Cool. Thank you. You fixed it. It's no longer gimmicky. Well, what's the byproduct of that? Rory McIlroy says, well, there's no point in me playing then because I'm already in the Tour Championship. So he's skipping the first week. It may be this is like some sort of, I don't know, like I got to show the PGA Tour that I don't like the new amendment to this rule or whatever it might be, but he's certainly taking a stand and not showing up in Memphis. And there's no reason for him to do it, and he can take off the week of the BMW if he'd like, and he gets into the field of the Tour Championship and still has just as much chance of winning it as anybody else. I do think that when we start to see numbers for FedEx Cup winner, I might look a little further down the board. It's not necessarily the Scotty, Rory, Xander kind of show anymore that somebody can get hot like Lucas Glover did a few years ago. Just go win the Tour Championship. Go play the best golf at East Lake, and you're going to get a trophy and $15 million, and you might have a decent number next to your name to start the whole thing.
Yeah, I mean, the numbers on I don't know when they're going to come out, but I don't know if it's going to be when the Tour Championship starts, but they're going to look like regular tournament numbers, like regular odds that we see on a regular tournament. Mike, with Rory not being here, before we let you go, I mean, Scotty's going to be the prohibitive favorite, as well he should be. Is this the type of thing where we look at, like, I've been looking at the without Scotty Scheffler market like pretty much all year. I'm going to do it again. But is that something you're going to do?
Yeah, I think so. I think there will definitely be some interest in that market for me. Another guy that I'll mention now that I'm probably going to end up playing is Justin Thomas as well. I think we're going to catch decent numbers here, even with Rory gone, taking, freeing up some of that true win equity. I do think I'll be on JT a little bit here as well.
Okay, Mike, any final thoughts before we let you go on the FedEx St. Jude?
No, just keep watching Emiliano Grillo finally making the birdies we thought he might all week.
Yeah.
Hopefully he lands inside that top 40 for a few of our sakes. And,
that's right.
Yeah, we'll see what happens.
That's right. Absolutely love it. I mean, this is all very interesting, not just with our bets, but with the top 70 and even the top 50 stuff that people aren't paying quite as much attention to at the moment. All right, Mike, well, I'll see you tomorrow on the DFS show for the FedEx St. Jude at 7 o'clock on this SportsLine YouTube channel. Thanks for joining us. Jason, I'm going to go back to you. Let's name a couple of names. I'm going to start because Mike named 2 names that I had, and these aren't groundbreaking names. There's 70 people. There's like 35 of which I think we think have a true chance to top 10, top 5 win the tournament. He mentioned Victor Hovland. I have 5 names that I wrote down, and I did it these are not names I'm necessarily betting, but they're the names that jumped out to me at first. We'll refine these as the week goes. But he mentioned Sepp Straka, who I don't have quite as much faith in as I might have a couple months ago. Everybody else would say that too, but certainly, could turn it on. And Victor Hovland. Now, I know around the green and short game might come into play here, but just the ball striking of Victor Hovland, I do think this is like a really decent course fit for Victor Hovland. I love his talent. I love his upside. So those are the 2 names that jumped out to me of the 5 that I wrote down. How about a couple of names from you, and then we'll go back and forth.
Yeah, I was on Hovland at the Scottish and the Open Championship, and if I don't get on him this week, it's more just oversaturation from me just jumping on Hovland too often recently, which is probably a bad way to look at it. This could be the Xander week, quite frankly. Xander but runner-up last year. I feel like it's coming. And again, this may be more narrative from me, and I've told the story many times that he and I were talking earlier this year, and I sort of said, you know what, could be a blessing in disguise that 2 months off in January and February, that later in the year you've got more gas in the tank. And so I keep coming back to that. But I do think that it's going to manifest in something for Xander at some point in the next month or two. And again, whether that's this week, whether that's Tour Championship, whether that's Ryder Cup, I think something's coming for Xander.
I feel the problem is, so I think you're probably right. I feel like the problem is we've said that now for 6 weeks, and he's been okay, but he just hasn't been able to put it all together. And I feel like we're kind of, from a timing standpoint, we're kind of creating this construct around when he's going to come around versus, when the PGA Tour season, when the playoffs end. And it's like, well, that might not be the proper construct for when Xander comes around. It could be in January, he starts blitzing the field and he's whatever, just maybe everybody's just as rested, but he's just in prime form. He's captured his game. He's accelerated all of those things. I just don't know if it's his time, but I do like the fact that if I don't bet on him, listen, Xander's one of the top players in this field. So the betting market's going to respect Xander for sure.
Yeah. And without Rory, I think it hurts. With Rory in the field, that bumps Xander down to probably 3rd or 4th on the board. Maybe he's got a 14-1, 16-1 number if we're lucky. Without Rory, obviously that's going to be shorter. And so I'm not saying that I'm necessarily betting him, but for one and dones, if you're still alive in a one and done and you're I've been hanging on to Xander, there's no real way to use him. I think he could be of use this coming week. I'll throw a name out at you. A guy that played well, obviously at the U.S. Open, had a really nice summer, has maybe tailed off just a little bit, but Sam Burns.
Yes, that's my guy. So he's not one of my 5 names because I don't know. I guess I worry about the off the tee stuff a little bit, but I don't know that I should. I love Sam Burns. I mean, listen, I've been betting him and it hasn't exactly come to fruition for me, but I think Sam Burns could win one of these he could be the sneaky guy that wins one of these playoff events. I don't hate that at all. I'm going to go Harris English. Your thoughts there? I mean, he's become a better ball striker. You don't need to be long here, but he's a little longer off the tee than he used to be. I don't know. He just seems to show up at big events.
Makes a lot of sense. I did not have him written down, but yeah, it makes a lot of sense. He's played the big ballpark so well this year.
Scrambling. The scrambling. I don't know what the weather's going to be like. It's probably going to be fine, other than being like sweltering.
It's going to be gross. It's going to be gross. I've gone to Memphis. I'm going there on Tuesday again this week. I've gone there the last 3 years, and it's like the seventh circle of hell. Like, no offense, Josh. I know he's a Memphis guy. It's not fun in August. I'll put it that way. That I will say, only my second least favorite tournament I've ever gone to in August. Back when they had the PGA Championship in August, and it was at Southern Hills in Tulsa. Tulsa in August is not very much fun either. I'll just throw it out there.
Yeah, I've never been to Tulsa. No plans.
Tulsa in October might be perfectly beautiful, and you have a great time. Tulsa in August is a little impressive.
All right, let's go to a couple more names. I'm going to give you two more. I'm going to give you Jacob Bridgman, who is a guy that I have not been on for the last 6 to 8 weeks, but at the beginning of the season, I really liked him. I just like what he's doing at the Wyndham in terms of what specifically he's doing off the tee. And I think if he reins that off the tee stuff in, I like him as a long iron player, and I don't know that this is a long iron course, but again, I like how he's playing right now, and I know he can get hot with the putter. So I like Bridgman, and then I'm just going to go right back to Chris Kirk. I think it's a fine enough course for Chris Kirk. Again, I do think there's plenty of comps to Sedgefield. Add water and smaller greens, obviously, too. There's some other differences, but I think Chris Kirk, if he can succeed at Wyndham, which I liked him as an outright, I think he can succeed here. Again, that would be more of like a DFS, a without market type play with Bridgman and Kirk, but those are names that jumped out to me. How about one or two names from you?
I will give you my usual floor plays. I don't know if I can bring myself to stomach playing either of them outright, but I think for top 10 plays, they'll probably be like, in a short field, plus 150 type top 10 plays. I think they make a lot of sense. Tommy Fleetwood and Russell Henley, guys they show up every week. They're really good iron players. Do I like them to win? No. Do I like them to be up there somewhere on the first page of the leaderboard? Yeah.
Yeah. Does Henley have a good history here? That's something I should have looked up. I mean, you feel like he should. I know he was 30th last year, but
and he was 6th the year before.
Okay, that makes sense.
7 of his last 8 rounds, 68 or better. I didn't go back. I just did quick research this morning and didn't go back and look at like the old FedEx St. Jude Classic, because if you look up the FedEx St. Jude Championship prior to 3 years ago, it takes you to the Northern Trust, which wasn't even the same region of the country, and so it's a little, you got to do a little extra work there to figure out the course history. That said, 6 2 years ago. It's a course that should suit him. And again, I can't bring myself to bet Henley outright. I mean, this is a guy who won for the first time in a few years earlier this year at the API, only because he had a chip that was steaming through the green, hit the stick and go in on 16, and then admitted afterwards he was extremely nervous over 3 and 4 footers for par on the final 2 holes. If he's not that confident in himself, this is my general rule of thumb on betting PGA Tour players. If they're not very confident in themselves, then I'm probably not going to be very confident betting in them.
What if, though, Jason, he's just the person that admits it and everybody's nervous over the putt?
No.
Like what if that's the case?
You know what?
What if Brooks Koepka is actually nervous, but he plays the other?
And admitting that he's nervous over 3 foot. I don't get it. Tiger Woods might have been nervous over 3 footers. You think Tiger was going to come in after winning a Masters when he knocks in the 3 footers like, whoo? I don't know if I could knock in that 3 footer at the end. Oh, I was so nervous. No, he's like,
that's fair.
3 footer. I hit the hole, then it gave me a jacket.
Yeah, that is fair. That's good stuff. All right, before we are going to revert back to the Wyndham round 4, but before we do that, Jason, any final thoughts on the FedEx St. Jude? Maybe not even from a golfer standpoint, a course standpoint. I mean, you've been out there, you're going out there on Tuesday. Anything we should be looking for, something that you saw that maybe being on the course people don't see?
I would look towards, and this is probably mostly for round scores, matchups later in the week, that there are going to be guys who are starting the week at 61st and shoot even par the first 2 rounds, and they kind of know they're dead man walking on the weekends, and they just want to get the season over with. I think we can find a little edge there in those players. So keep that in mind. I know we're talking like 6 days from now, but you're gonna find these guys that are like, I can't move up. I have nothing else. You see this bib behind me? That's Brendan Steele from the 2018 BMW Championship. The reason I caddied for him in the final round that day is because, first of all, his caddy took off. They had rain out on Sunday, and so it extended to a Monday final round. But he couldn't advance to the Tour Championship. And he was like, whatever. His caddy had been on the road. Christian Dahl had been on the road with him for 8 weeks in a row. He lived over in England. He's like, don't change your flight. Go home. I can't advance. And he's like, let's just go out and have some fun and like finish out the season. There's going to be a bunch of players like that next week that just, they know they can't advance. They just want to like, let's just get it over with, get out of town and go relax and have some downtime. And so I think as bettors, even though it's not something that might affect the tournament result, we can take advantage of guys for whom it matters versus guys for whom it doesn't matter.
Wait, real quick. You caddied for Brendan Steele in round 4?
Yeah.
How did that conversation go? He tapped you on the shoulder? He texted you? Like, how does that even happen, though?
I was standing there. He's a good buddy of mine. We've become pretty close over the years. I was standing next to the scoring area. He was telling Christian, like, this is Saturday afternoon of that event. We're probably going to get rained out tomorrow, which he was correct about. He said, I'll just find someone to caddy for me on Monday. Like, don't change your flight. Leave tomorrow. It doesn't matter. And he turned to me and goes, Sobes, want to caddy?
Oh, my gosh.
I'm like, sure. So caddied 18 holes at Aronimink in a group with Phil Mickelson and Brian Harmon. We started on the back 9. There were no fans out there. I mean, even for Phil, no fans out there other than 3 of my buddies from Philly who are yelling at me. Like, Phil's looking at me like, seriously, dude? And I'm like, would you like me to shut them up? They're like, let's go get him, Sobel. And like, Phil's like, dude, I've got like 5 majors at this point. He's got 6 now, but he's like, really, they're yelling for you. And I'm like, yeah, I get it. But we had fun. We had a great time. I have a career scoring average as a caddy on the PGA Tour of 68.0, which, Sia, I think that probably puts me in the top 10 all time.
Maybe top 5 all time?
Right?
That's incredible.
Yeah.
Jason Sobel, caddy of the century.
Doesn't have a 68 scoring average, I'll tell you that much.
That's amazing. I feel like we need to dive deeper into that story, but we're going to close shop for now. Only not on the show, but only on the quick look at the FedEx St. Jude and the quick look at Jason Sobel being a caddy for Brendan Steele. We've got a lot to kind of revert to, though. So again, show's not over, but that's going to call it for the FedEx St. Jude. Thanks for joining us for this portion of the show. Much more coming FedEx St. Jude related and FedEx Cup playoff related on the DFS show tomorrow at 7, the Best Bets show Tuesday at 7, and of course the live chat at 4 and this show Sunday mornings.